The inaugural John Curtin Medals presentation was in 1998 and was established by Curtin University to recognise members of the community who shared John Curtin's attributes of vision, leadership and community service. Over the last 20 years, the winners have been 1998, Priya Cooper. Priya is an Australian Paralympian swimmer who has won numerous gold, silver and bronze medals. She has been an Australia Day ambassador and ambassador for the Sydney 2000 Olympics. She has been an inspiring leader to those with mobility difficulties and many others in the broader community. May O'Brien. May is a former school teacher who taught for many years before establishing the Aboriginal Committees on Education in WA. She was instrumental in setting up Curtin's Aboriginal Bridging Course, giving young Aboriginal people access to tertiary education. Dr. George O'Neill. George is best known for his life-saving work in the treatment of drug addiction. His tireless work for others has included designing a better pain management system and process to ease diarrhoea in sick children in developing countries. Dr. Eric Tan. Eric was the first overseas student to graduate at the top of his class at any medical school in Australia. Dr. Tan pioneered endoscopic keyhole surgery in Australia and taught the technique overseas. 1999, Margaret Culbong. Margaret has improved the health and well-being of Aboriginal people by setting up Aboriginal-controlled health services and raising the profile of Aboriginal health issues in Western Australia. Professor Tommy Koh. Tommy is an international lawyer who has worked to promote environmental responsibility and reducing international conflict. He has also championed the arts and greater creative freedom in Singapore. Monique Lim. Monique demonstrated extraordinary leadership qualities in helping forge links between China and Western Australia, becoming one of China's 20 best-known women business leaders. Peter Moyes. Peter had a vision for creating a progressive education system focused on community attitudes towards education. He provided intellectual and motivational leadership to promote change within the education system in Western Australia. 2000. Chris Lewis. Chris is a former footballer who has used his sporting profile to serve the community, working with youth groups, schools and in particular young Aboriginal people. Granny Smith Gold Mines. Working with native title claimants, Granny Smith Gold Mines established an industry benchmark for working with Indigenous communities and for sustainable practices in mine site rehabilitation. Dame Rachel Clelland. Dame Rachel Clelland was an active environmentalist whose work focused on saving old growth forests in southwest WA. She also dedicated much of her life to developing associations for the women of Papua New Guinea. 2001. Vanessa Elliot. Vanessa has for many years initiated and implemented youth programs in Indigenous communities within the remote northwest community of Halls Creek. John Embling and Heather Pilcher. John and Heather have devoted many years to helping young people who were victims of homelessness, drug abuse, racism and violence, offering shelter, refuge and hope. Mary Roskams. Mary provided extensive assistance to international students arriving in Australia, which made a significant impact on Australian diplomatic trade and cultural relationships. Dr. Barry Jones. Barry has been a teacher, lawyer and Member of Parliament, and in each role has demonstrated a strong commitment to scientific research and development in Australia. 2002. Brother Olly Picket. Brother Olly has devoted his life to serving others, with his work ranging from helping at-risk youth to manufacturing low-cost wheelchairs for children from around the world who are landmine and polio victims. 2003. John Fawcett. John dedicated many years of his life to helping the Balinese community. The John Fawcett Foundation, established in 2000, has provided free medical aid to thousands of economically disadvantaged Indonesians by treating health problems such as blindness, cataracts and cleft palates. Doug Paling. Doug established Food Bank, the major community organisation that has grown over the years to become one of the largest hunger relief organisations in Australia. 2004. Ajahn Brahmavamso. Ajahn Brahm is a Buddhist monk who conducted daily counselling at prisons, hospitals and schools, bringing inner peace and happiness to many people in Western Australia. 2005. Dr. David Joske. David is a senior Western Australian haematologist who has dedicated much of his career to alleviating cancer-related illness and suffering through complementary and alternative therapies that bring comfort to many cancer sufferers. Lynne Evans. Lynne, who began her career in community nursing, provided much-needed support and advocacy for the homeless during her tenure as CEO of St Bartholomew's House, where she brought solace to many members of the local community. 2006. Pieta O Shaughnessy. Pieta has spent more than 30 years in community radio, where she worked to break down barriers in the community around racism and other issues and supported the underprivileged. She also helped establish 6NR, now Curtin FM. Gerard Neesham. Gerard Neesham is a former footballer who established the Clontarf Foundation Football Academy, teaching young Indigenous men healthy lifestyle practices and helping students find employment or further education. Boronia Pre-Release Centre for Women. Boronia has been a leader in corrective services, establishing a unique model of imprisonment, recognising the diverse needs of its women inmates and preparing them for re-entry into the community by offering meaningful rehabilitation. 2007. Dennis Eggington. Dennis has served Indigenous community passionately for most of his life and is an esteemed leader who is often the voice of the Noongar people in Western Australia. David Goldstone. David devoted most of his life to charity work, motivated by a strong desire to make a difference to those less fortunate. One of his significant projects was the 1999 Pennies for Polio campaign, which raised $84,000 towards Rotary's worldwide polio eradication program. 2008. Joan Winch. Joan founded the Ma Mudich Foundation to deliver appropriate and effective health worker training for Indigenous people and communities across Western Australia. Hellen Dullard. Described as a social entrepreneur, Hellen has used her considerable skills to improve communities and the lives of individuals within them, particularly in the areas of environment, community health and disability and seniors issues. 2009. Pat Dodson. Pat is a high-profile figure in Indigenous affairs, warmly regarded as the father of Australian reconciliation, having served on the Council for Australian Reconciliation and the Apology to Indigenous Australia's Stolen Generations. 2010. Beverley and John Lowe. Beverley and John created Manor Industries, a charity helping to feed the homeless people of inner city Perth and support children from disadvantaged backgrounds across the metropolitan area. 2011. Tanya Pinto. Tanya founded Bal Dan, a charity that provides street children, slum children and orphans in India with food, education, medical treatment and essential supplies. 2012. Emeritus Professor Jo Barker. Jo's leadership in occupational therapy and coaching, mentoring and developing leadership skills in people in her community have been a hallmark of her life and career. 2013. Helena Murphy. Helena was an activist who founded the Coolbaroo Club in 1946. The club was a political movement and an Indigenous social club that aimed to gain equal rights for Aboriginal people. Dr. Graham Forward. Graham is an orthopaedic surgeon who established Australian Doctors for Africa to help vulnerable African communities with severe medical and health difficulties by training local doctors, performing thousands of surgical procedures and distributing supplies and equipment. 2014. Clinton Heal. Clinton established Melanoma WA to provide immediate access to information and support to those affected by melanoma and their family carers and friends. 2015. Dr. Kay Brand. Kay founded the Western Australian Fibromyalgia Network in 2007, bringing together and providing support for thousands of individuals affected by the disorder. Sian White. Sian is a lifelong humanitarian who has organised many international fundraising activities to assist with housing, education and employment for the underprivileged. Ezard Flowers and the late Angus Wallam. Aboriginal elders Ezard and Angus were central to consultations with the Noongar community related to the repatriation of the Herbert Mayer collection of Carolup artworks to Australia in May 2013. 2016, Dr. Anne O'Neill. Anne is the founder of Angel Hands Incorporated, an organisation dedicated to supporting the recovery of people affected by homicide and serious interpersonal violence. 2017, Jim Morrison. Jim has worked at the front line of Aboriginal affairs for more than 4 decades and is known nationally for his advocacy of Aboriginal human rights and support for members of the stolen generations and their families. Angela Ryder, a member of the Stolen Generations. Angela has established innovative initiatives to build independence in Aboriginal people and empower Aboriginal women. Her work includes grief and loss counselling and supporting women affected by family violence and sexual assault.